Oh, the battle over technology, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, it is. You know that Ford didn't make 100,000 F-150s this past year because they didn't have the computer chips. Best-selling vehicle in the United States for decades, and they scaled back by 100,000 units because they don't have the chips. A lot of the cars now, some of the features that they had previously, they don't have now because the chips are not available, and so they're changing the way they do things. Me personally, I think a 1970 Dodge Dart with a straight six and no electronics is maybe not such a bad way to go. James Crean, the president of Crean, a Texas-based innovation company that accelerates product delivery through integrated engineering and smart manufacturing, joining me now. Sir, good to have you.
Great to be with you, Steve. Good morning.
So tell me about where we are. I mean, it's my understanding that a majority of these chips come from not mainland China, but Taiwan. There are other manufacturers, and this can create a conflict because everything runs on these silly chips anymore. I think we're pretty over-dependent on them myself, but what say you? What's going on?
Chips are the new oil. It's the fact of the matter is all of our electronics, our cell phones, our computers, our TVs, everything runs on these chips, and 50% of the chips come from Taiwan, and 0% of the advanced chips come from the United States. So it's a big issue for us. Those advanced chips go into not just our cell phones, but our military equipment. 92% are produced in Taiwan and 8% in South Korea.
And so why do we produce none of, I mean, clearly we have the manufacturing ability, know-how, technology. Why on earth wouldn't we make chips right here in the United States? I mean, if you doubled the price of a chip, it wouldn't double the price of a pickup truck or a refrigerator or a television set. So why not just make that, an incremental increase and make them here?
Well, it's a little bit of just kind of not keeping our eye on the ball, I think, as far as supply chain is concerned, being a little bit too enamored with a global supply chain approach that emphasizes overall else, the idea, not necessarily the correct idea, that manufacturing overseas is cheaper. Taiwan Semiconductor in particular, is a pretty amazing company, has worked very hard to be extremely good and at the cutting edge of advanced chip manufacturing. And so the chip designers said, instead of designing and building the chip, we'll just design the chip and we'll have Taiwan Semiconductor manufacture the chips. And it's been a model that has worked up until you start realizing that China might be interested in taking Taiwan back, like they have Hong Kong.
Obviously, this is something that I think weighs on a lot of folks. Now, they don't think about it too much. They jump in their car takes off until their car needs to go in the shop because something's not working right. And they're like, oh, we don't have that part. I just went through this recently. I won't mention the brand, but it's been making me pull my hair out. Finally got the computer brain thing figured out in the car. It took a while. But people don't think about it too much. But is this a national security concern?
Well, there's no question. If Taiwan, if China has always wanted Taiwan to be back in the fold, if you will. They believe it's just a rogue province, and they want to have control over Taiwan. If that's the case, then it's clearly going to be a significant national security issue, and even independent of that, it's a national security issue. We need to be focusing on how do we bring that manufacturing back in it, and we are starting to take some measures. Intel is building some new plants here in the United States, and actually Taiwan Semiconductor is realizing the importance of this, and they're actually building a new plant here in the United States as well.
So, all right, so we're bringing manufacturing back, but in the short term, it's not just these computer chips that we're going to have problems with. A lot of the new technology, as far as EVs go, these electric vehicles, right? A lot of that material, key components of that. China has gone around the world for the last 15 years and locked up cadmium and nickel and magnesium and all of these components of lithium batteries, right? And cornered the market. How is America going to compete when there was a war being fought? We didn't even know it was going on. And now we wake up and we don't have computer chips. We don't have what it takes to make lithium batteries in the quantity to power General Motors vehicles or anybody else for that matter. I mean, we're in a bad place in some of these things, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely true. The Chinese Belt and Roads Initiative is largely focused on, kind of these critical areas of the world and their influence in those areas. They recognize it. They have a long-term strategy, and if we don't start focusing on making sure that the United States has that similar long-term perspective on things, then we're going to be sitting there wondering why we can't get any of these rare earth metals like lithium and other materials, and even more basic materials in some cases that we just don't have access to. So there are numerous of these rare earth metals that are very difficult to get if you're not working with countries that aren't very friendly with us.
Right, and strangely enough, we've got rare earth metals in America, but oftentimes we seem to step on our own feet because we put the Green New Deal in front of everything in some circles. I mean, some of these folks I think would be happier if we sat in the dark using candles as opposed to anything else, but I digress. What are the solutions? Where do we go from here? How do we get ourselves back to where we need to be, and how long does it take to get there?
Well, in the world of chips, if Taiwan were to not be a producer, it would take probably $350 billion plus in order to recreate that production here in the United States. It would probably take 3 to 5 years minimum. Quite honestly, there are skills that need to be developed and taught. There's a significant amount of work that has to go into this. It has to be a strategic initiative, and that's really what it takes. The Senate has passed a $52 billion bill. That was a bipartisan bill, and that focuses on bringing back chip manufacturing to the United States. And the House is starting to make some moves in that direction. I think that's a start, but it is only a start. And luckily, U.S. companies are realizing because of this shortage, hey, they got to bring that manufacturing to the United States. So
we've got to. So, I don't see any way around it. James Crean, I got to leave it right there. James Crean, the president of Crean, Texas-based innovation company. The chip problem's not going away, sir. Thank you. I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you.